Hail, hail, the Celts are here, and what the hell do we care now, guys? It's a Friday, and don't you know it? The Celtic love to just drop these announcements in a flurry. They love to punch in bunches, don't they? We've had the new third kit come out today. We had Shaun Maloney announced a few days ago, and today we got the Here We Go from Fab Rom about 10 days ago, it feels like. But we've had the official unveiling from Celtic that Ben Nygren is a boy. He is in the Nygren and white of Celtic, and he is buzzing. He is set to go. A player that we've previewed on the channel a few times now, particularly in the build up to the transfer. And a lot of you guys have been enjoying the content that we've had this off season, going through all the kind of transfer speculation and the moving parts, the domino effect, the chess game, whatever it is that we're doing across the transfer market as we prepare for Champions League qualifiers, as well as looking to go one step further domestically, regain that treble aura, and in the Champions League, at least kind of follow on from where we left off last year, if nothing else. If you're watching this live and you're joining me live and loud, 5 o'clock here on a Friday, fist bump to yourself. Please do hit the like button. Goes a long way to supporting the channel. Let me know your thoughts and feelings on all the above as we get stuck into that in the show today. And if you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe button. We are almost at 13,000 subscribers. We are pushing for 18,888, and we cannot do that without your support. We had a great video go out on Wednesday as well. We had the J-League expert in town, Alan, good friend of the channel. You guys seem to love Alan, and it was a great interview, or a great video that I had a lot of fun doing it. And if you haven't caught it yet, we go through Shin Yamada and Amura and Alan as well. I know from talking to Alan on other stuff, he's a very in the know kind of guy, like good mates with some people at Vissel Kobe, as well as a few other teams actually chatting to him before and after the video. His kind of network has kind of grown or whatever. So a very good guy to keep tabs on players with. And, we'll look to certainly get Alan back next time it's, kind of relevant or whatever. You guys all seem to have fun with that one as well. And hopefully you have good fun with me today on a Friday. It is the end of the week. It's been a busy week as well, like we mentioned. And as I'm waiting for all you guys to trap in, drop the likes, drop the fist bumps, and let me know what you're up to today and what you think about everything that's happened this week. It feels like the best place to start is welcome Ben Nygren, the man himself. So I've got to say, he suits the hoops, doesn't he? He does suit the hoops. There are some players that when they sign for us, you're just like, yeah, he's a Celtic player. You see it in the highlights a wee bit where it's like, yeah, I can see why the manager and the club are after him. But then, I forgot to put the little chat box on. Sorry, where is that went? Or where is it actually? Style? Oh, maybe it's changed. I could have swore we had a little. Yeah, I think they were testing it, weren't they? It's kind of gone now. But I quite like that little chat box thing that we had up the other day, but I can't find it now. Got it. But yeah, so you see it from the highlights, the kind of style of play, and then when you see them in the strip, that's when you know, like, yeah, he's a hoop. He's here to. Oh, there we go. Is that it? Boom. There we go. We've got it on. So that will start to fill up once your comments start flying in again. So yeah, very convinced, and it's good to see another one from the family tree of Celtic players in yesteryear, as it were. We've had Japanese players coming in talking about growing up watching Nakamura, and Ben Nygren at 23 probably didn't watch Larson at Celtic, but I'm sure he's a Larson fan all the same. Maybe he watched Haksabanovic. Who knows? But Celtic are delighted to have signed Swedish internationalist Benjamin Nygren on a 5-year deal subject to international clearance. For me, this is one of those transfers that Celtic never get done. We normally see like an Ajax or a Porto or a Benfica or some team in England sign these guys for nominal fees. And us Celtic fans that are like, I don't know what the word would be, let's just say active football fans that kind of pay attention to the market and other clubs and other teams, would be pulling our hair out about, say, why didn't we get Ben Nygren? And that kind of instinct, that kind of reflex is part of the reason why he didn't feature on the channel a little bit more prominently than what he did as we covered Scandinavia, because he's clearly the standout player in that kind of mini region. But I just thought, number one, price-wise, we're probably not going to be able to match the transfer fee associated with it. And number two, we're probably going to be the back of the queue because there's probably other teams that have already sounded this guy out and got the ball rolling, as it were. But such as luck would have it, the price was right, and we were front in the queue in this one, which was brilliant. So the 23-year-old attacker joins from Nordisland, where he scored 15 goals last season, an impressive club form, gained international recognition, 2 goals for Sweden, including in the 2-0 away win to Hungary earlier this month. Speaking about the latest addition to the Celtic squad, Brendan Rodgers said, Let's hear from the man himself. We are delighted to have brought Benjamin to Celtic, and we are looking forward to working with him. He's an exciting quality player who will add to our attacking options in the squad. And Brendan's got a few of those buzzwords he likes to roll out, depends on the transfer. And the word quality is the word you would associate with Ben Nygren. It's not going to be pace. It's not going to be power. It is quality. The guy looks like, and from as I say, looks like not watched Nordisland every game of their season or Heerenveen or anything like this, but from what I've seen of him, and I'm sure from what you guys have seen of him, quality in his boots. A guy has a bit of magic, has the eye for a pass, is inventive enough to try those killer balls, and options into the attack. And we'll get onto the tactics board and we'll see what options he looks to be giving us. He's a young player who's already gained plenty of experience at club level, while his impressive performances last season also saw him gain his first caps for Sweden. Joining Celtic is the next step in his career. Having spoken to him, he's delighted to be here and is ready to take on exciting challenges ahead at home and in Europe. He's a player I'm sure our supporters will enjoy watching, and it's great to have him as part of our squad. Speaking exclusively to Celtic TV after completing his move to the Scottish Champions, Ben Nygren said, and before we get into this, guys, right, Celtic have put some of the clips out on YouTube, but the full interview is only available on Celtic TV. Now, I don't know how to say this or how to put it, right, but this is like tin pot behaviour. I don't know if that's the right word for it, right? But I'll explain what I mean, and you guys can tell me what the terminology is. For example, this is not a big deal in that it's an interview with a new signing, and it's behind a paywall after we've signed them. So I get this fact that Celtic want to monetize their content a little bit more. I get that they want to push subscriptions towards Celtic TV. This is a very poor way to maybe even start on a footing as you mean to go on. I get that there's maybe a little bit of that in the equation here, but this is just poor crack, poor form. So we'll get to see what the quotes are here, but the full video is only available on Celtic TV. I feel amazing to have signed for Celtic. It's so nice to be here. I've been looking forward to this so much. And don't you love it when you can just hear it ripping out them? I felt this way with Bernardo. I certainly felt this way with Jota the first time we signed him, and I felt it with all the Japanese lads, certainly when they came over. But you want to be signing players that want to be Celtic players. They want to play for Celtic, given the choice, given the option. And you can talk about where players are in their career, where they are on the ladder, on the football food chain or whatever. But you want to sign guys that want to play for us. All things being equal, they choose us over other people. And I get that kind of early vibe here from Ben Nygren. I'm a player who wants to create a lot of chances and go towards goal. I'm a link between defence and offence, and I can run a lot. I'm an offensive-minded player, but I also work hard and try to do my best in all parts of the game. When we did our initial kind of cursory view on Ben Nygren about a week ago or so, it was the number one thing I wanted to highlight in the video is he was getting held out as a winger. But when you watch him, like, it feels like a guy that feeds wingers, that feeds the front line, and might be filling our words on that video where you can go and check the timestamps and all that good stuff. This is where you get the hot takes before they come out the oven anywhere else, but could be filling that Matt O'Reilly sized hole, or maybe Hatate, which was my initial fear that this might be a precursor to Hatate leaving. Maybe it could be a precursor to somebody leaving. We'll maybe chat about that as we get on. I'm a very competitive person. He's here for titles. He's here for medals. And this is something that I love about Celtic. It's a huge club, and I love that. And also the winning mentality. I want to be with the similar-minded people who also love to win. I had my breakthrough when I was very young. So even though I'm 23, I've played over 200 games. I have a lot of experience, and that's what I want to bring. And this is a guy that, like, for folk like myself that pay attention to a lot of football, this is a name we were already familiar with. Ben Nygren has been around the block since he was like 17 or 18. He was a very highly regarded wonder kid and had some considerable transfer fees considering the clubs he was involved with and the age and whatever. But great kind of opening words from the boy. His highlight reel, I'm sure we've all had a peek at it. And yeah, he looks good in the hoops. This is his Instagram account. Celtsar here put it out on the news feed earlier. So happy to have joined this amazing and legendary club. Can't wait to start this new chapter and play it in front of the amazing fans. And oh, look at this. Shelderup. Loving it. Shelderup is a player we were linked to, by the way, and we never got him. Shelter it, we wouldn't be able to afford him now, but that's cool. That's funny. So they're obviously pals. You never know if he kind of finds himself lost in the wilderness of football. Lagerbielken. Oh, Lagers, what you doing? Jordan Larson. Oh, no way, Jordan. Oh, Jordan. The player that we're linked to all the time, except for when we need a guy like him, we don't get linked to him. Congratulations, brother. Love that. No Cloverleaf, but any other famous faces? Maybe some of these are, but I'm not familiar with Rasmus, Christian Rasmussen. Maybe some other guys here we don't know their Twitter, their Instagram handles or whatever. But that's fun to see Jordan Larson and Shelderup getting involved in the action with him. There's a bunch of you joining us live and loud. The little chat box on screen is starting to fill up. But thanks to you all. Michael McDonald was the first one in the chat today with some very lovely complimentary words. So thank you very much. And Fudge Roaster, I would love that personally. That would be nice. Ryan, we did look at Tolu Arokadari. I think that's how you say it. When we did the Belgian video, I never put him in the video because I genuinely did think O was going to be replacing him. And why should we buy a guy that can't get in the team ahead of O, essentially. So kind of looked at him. He's kind of like O, but a few steps ahead on his progression. That's why he was starting over him last year. And it might look as if maybe he gets sold on, O comes through, or O gets sold on and he gets kept or whatever. 420 somewhere. I love to see the support as always, mate. Good to have you in the house as always. Ian O'Callaghan, good to see you. DG, the man. Martin Weir as well, of course. And yeah, we need that dead ball specialty, don't we? Back into the club. William O'Toole. I hope our Swedish signing is a sign of that dynamic, more aggressive style. Yes, I think so too. I think Nygren and Tierney can interlock quite nicely, dovetail into the kind of evolution we're expecting to see from Rodgers season 3. So yeah, I think that was a lot of the sentiment early on when we first got linked to him, and it was like, oh, this is a serious move. This might actually happen, and that might be the way it does actually shake out in the immediate term, because it feels like Nicolas Kühn is getting linked to the good and the great of Europa League football at the moment. I was on Axom earlier today and I was saying to them, like, the Como link doesn't surprise me. It doesn't sound like it's going any further, it must be said. But the Leipzig one makes a lot of sense on a lot of levels. And if Kühn's agent's been tasked with going bring some money to Celtic this summer, it feels like that's inevitable that he will be going. We normally have the best 11 in green, but at the moment it's the best 12 because I just don't know who Nygren is directly going to be pushing out or replacing. I think if the squad remains the same as it is, we could probably see something like Adam Ida maybe dropping out the picture, and you maybe get Nygren on the left, cutting inside, or with Dyson through the middle, or you might even see Nygren false nine in it, dropping into these pockets, because quite a lot of the time when we've had Ida up here as the arrowhead, he's dropping in deep into these pockets, and he's actually rather effective at doing it, but where it breaks down for Big Ida is his range of passing, like sliding other guys in, playing a 1-2, that kind of attack play isn't really his bag. Ben Nygren, by all accounts, is played up front, didn't do well at Nordisland as a number 9, as the centre forward, and that's why they went back to playing him in that kind of attacking midfield spot. But our front three, let's imagine it's Kühn. We can forget it's Kühn, and you can put in Jota when he's fit, Yang if you want to. These types of, I think pace on the front line, on the front three, actually breaking away, particularly in Europe, is a key fundamental kind of part. And Nygren he's not slow, don't get me wrong, but he's not as quick as Dyson or Kühn, So I think he will be a much more central player, which then asks really big questions on the dynamic that we play in and behind the front line. So I think if the Kühn thing happens, he will just be a Kühn replacement. And for the Champions League qualifiers, he'll just come in, play Kühn's position, and we'll probably set up like this. Obviously, Jota's out injured for the time being. Osmond looks like he's about to be confirmed. Apparently, Tilio is going to get another chance to audition for the team again. And, Palma, let's just not talk about that. So, yeah, I would be a little bit gutted if we don't keep Kühn. And it is like imagine Kühn's out the door in the next 10 days. That would really take the shine off of this Nygren move because, like I mentioned before, this is a sort of move that we normally don't come through with. Someone else does. And then us Celtic fans are like, why didn't we get that guy for under 2 million? And we've done it, and it's brilliant, and it's amazing, and it only makes our front line, like we can't even pick the front three anymore. And you add Jota back into the equation again. This is unreal levels of quality and depth in the front five, especially. And then if it's Osmond for Ida or Kenny and Osmond fighting against Ida, however it's going to actually pan out, it's hard to remember a better time for the Celtic front line if it stays this way, but feels borderline inevitable that we might lose Nicolas Kühn. Callahan, Benji says, yeah, well, we're just banking money at every turn, aren't we? We'll probably make money on O as well, because you guys will remember there was a sell-on fee with that, which is still undisclosed. You can do all the digging you want, but the sell-on fee for O is undisclosed. But we basically sold him for just under break even to Genk. And I think it was like, I think we sold, I'm just going to make the numbers up, right? Just for example purposes. Or actually, why don't we actually just look at Transfermarkt? Because I'm pretty sure that will show us what it is I want to find anyway. But let's say we spent 3 million on him. I think we only actually got 2 for him, but all the papers reported it as kind of the same fee that we spent on him in the first place, and that was with the expected add-ons. So I think we've got a chunky wee percentage on O. Let's just wait for this to load up. Sorry. So yeah, we're going to make money on O. Lagerbielke might be on his way out. We can chat about that as well. We've got the Frimpong money. We might have O'Reilly money. We could have Kühn money. We've got money. We've got bank money. We've got Champions League money in the pipe if we get through the qualifier. So yeah, let's have a wee peek. These adverts can be mildly frustrating. But yeah, so we picked him up for 2.8. And then we sold them for 2.7. I guess that's what's the reported fee. But I'm pretty sure there was also some clauses on top of that. And I think that there certainly is. But yeah, must have been a straight, we basically washed our face on the deal. And, if they sell them for 9, I'd be expecting 2 or 3 out of that for the hoops, the way we do business and the sort of fees and the deals that we're normally tied up with. So yeah, like we're just winning on every angle, really. Hopefully in the future, Mo, but not yet, sadly. This guy has more ability than Kühn. Maybe. It depends what your definition of ability is. I do think Kühn's quite underrated at the moment by Celtic fans, is kind of getting this one-trick pony kind of tag, which I don't think is very fair on him, to be honest with you, because I think one thing that I've seen from Kühn over his time at Celtic is, although his most effective pieces of play have been when he's on this area of the pitch here and he can get on the edge of the box, he can drive inside on this way, he can be super effective. He's been really good at doing this and then just chipping a nice wee ball into the back post, and he's also quite happy to take a shot when he does this. But there's been plenty of times where I've seen him on the outside getting into these channels here and again trying to supply balls into the box. So it's became a bit of a trope. It's became a bit of a running joke. I don't know if it's a joke or whatever, but Kühn's got this label now as being a one-trick pony. I do also think the overlap or their lack of that we had at times from Alistair Johnson is also limited, just Kühn's options on the ball. And I say this often enough. I do my best not to repeat myself as often as possible because I know it can be frustrating. But I listen to content and I know it's like when people say stuff 5 million times. It's like, we've heard it, pal. We've heard it. We know that. But just in case any of you are new around here, but Kühn can take on one man in the dribble, no problem at all for me. His problem is when it's 2 guys facing him up, or even 3 guys. Like, that's a really hard thing to be good at, especially top level football. Paddy Roberts for me is the yardstick. Paddy Roberts could skin 2 guys easy without blinking. It required 3 guys in the SPFL to stop Paddy. And with Kühn, if you put 2 guys around him and he's not got support, he's not got an overlap, he's not got an in-ball, he's toast. He's not going to go very far. Yeah, I would agree with that. Like, you want traction, you want clicks, you want impressions, you want views, and I get there's a monetization element of Celtic TV they might want to do better with, but signing Ben Nygren and putting it behind a paywall is just tin pot, Yeah, he's more versatile. I'll definitely give you that, because what we get with Nygren is someone that can play it in this zone here as well as do this stuff out here. Kühn's got a lot more pace. I think Kühn is probably, in the most positive way possible, a lot more direct and effectively direct, And I think what Kühn is good at when Kühn's on the front foot and he's got some like we've seen it in Europe a lot more than domestically because we just don't get the pitch to run into. But when Kühn's on the front foot and he's got somebody backpedaling, he's wicked good. Like he's a shark that smells blood in the water. He knows how to turn somebody inside out. He's very good at that. And he doesn't get that many of those situations, you know, in the league because everybody's camping in their box, aren't they? I like the sound of this guy. Yeah, we're all there. Could be O'Reilly Mark II, but he can play wide, and I know O'Reilly and Engels do get pitched out super wide, so he might even just come into the midfield free, and it will be this whole like split the midfield up and make them make triangles nonsense. We might keep up with that, and if we do, I think Nygren out here making a triangle. Let's just put Nygren there rather than Engels, but Nygren out here making triangles with Johnson and Kühn could be sick. Domestically, could be disgusting. Might be classed as cheating. Yeah, definitely got a wand of a left foot. We're overdue one of them. And yeah, I'm happy with it. It feels like you guys are happy with it. No word yet on what shirt number he's going to get. I'm not too sure if there's a prominent shirt number that's sitting there. Oh, took the words right out of my mouth. He got the number 8. That's pretty good, by the way. Taking over from Kyogo and Bruni. That's a nice kind of legacy of 8s that we've had. The Gren 8. Love that. CWO, good to see you. Yeah, Chris Commons is a good comp. I do like that. A good comparison. I do like that. Yeah, I do like that a lot. Quite similar. I fucking love Commons, by the way. Commons had a real when Commons was on it, like he was as good as many that we've had this millennium. I would have taken O. Like again, O is one of these funny ones where, and we kind of need so see O and Bernabe and these other types of guys that kind of come in and out the door, and this kind of thing happens. We do need to remember a couple of things about them. Number one, Scotland isn't a great development ground, really. You know, guys like Nygren, Jota, Kühn, Engels, well, maybe not Engels as much, but those types of guys can come to Scotland and level up because, like Nygren, you heard from him there in his quotes, the winning mentality, the attitude of being top of the mountain, winning is only what's acceptable. Alistair Johnson's interview he did with Canada came out this week, and a lot of Celtic fans have been chatting about it. But I remember watching Alistair Johnson. We won a game 1-0 or 2-1, and it was super tight, and we booed at Celtic Park. And I remember Alistair Johnson being captured on camera as like, we won. He's pure confused, like clapping the fans, everyone's booing them. And yeah, that's what these players gain from coming to Celtic. But if you're O, if you're Bernabe or whatever, if you're Valley, if you're maybe a little bit greener behind the gills, and you're not getting much minutes, much exposure, you're not going to really develop their kick on that much in Scotland. Because if we do look at O for a quick second, I don't think his minutes were wildly different at Genk than what they were at Celtic. I'm not going to be able to count all this up dead easy on this, but may be able to find it on Transfermarkt actually. But look at this, like basically, see these wee green arrows. Can I zoom in? Yeah, we can. These are sub appearances. This is off the bench. Like, look at this. This is every game. So he's at us coming off the bench every game, which was kind of fine enough, wasn't it? And then he goes to Belgium, and we can probably count the starts. That won't be too taxing. 1, 2, 3. 3 starts in the entire season. You know, this has got a lot to be said about training environment as well as, yeah, so this is the total. That's L15, L40. 769 minutes this season for Genk and Korea. There'll be a little bit in that as well. I wonder if this shows his minutes on this. I think it might, by the way, when we go into career. View full stats. So altogether, Croquet Cup, whatever that is, that's probably the international thing. Champions League playoffs. So 867 minutes. The season before, for us, 725. Not a material difference there, is it? You know, he's played more there. He's been guaranteed to get off the bench every game. He wasn't always guaranteed to get off the bench with us. And I just know from watching when he, you know, just watching out for when he's been coming off the bench, like he's had time to impact the game. You know, he's coming on for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Unlike at Celtic, it was like 5 or 10 minutes a lot of the time. And 14 here against Bruges. You see the one that was a start, obviously. USG 9. Yeah, so maybe it's not an absolute, but certainly he's got more minutes over a similar amount of international, isn't it? Appearances 31. You know. And part of this is the environment at Genk. Part of this is the Belgian league as well, because even the bad teams don't do what the bad teams in our league do and kill the game, you know, and camp the box. And the refs are, let's not even bring the refs up. But I know you say that, Celtic fan, and I'm kind of with you on, like, if we'd invested that amount of time into it kind of defeats the purpose to give up on him when we did. But I think Brendan, change of manager, these kind of points of attrition, turnover do tend to happen. But wasn't fondly, loved by the Celtic fans. Let's give a chance. It was never really there. It was always like, O's great off the bench. And he's been great off the bench for Genk, but you can tell he feels like he's getting more progression, he's getting more development, he's scored more goals, and he's either going to get a big money move to Feyenoord or be the Genk starting striker next year. And, good luck to him. But again, with him, with Bernabeu, you don't get that development in Scotland. You just, if you're not playing, especially, if you're not playing for us, or just, what are you gaining here beyond that kind of big club mentality? Kind of crash course. A wee bit of disagreements in the chat. I'm kind of missing bits and bobs. I'm trying to keep up with these. What I think was good about was that's always advantageous when you get that. Brilliant. Yeah, I think we got it. I think I'm behind the chat now, but we caught that eventually. And thanks very much for the intel, mate. But yeah, so I think Nygren is going to be a hero. I think Nygren is going to win his points. I think he's going to be a player that you feel has quality in the Champions League. And it's a great appointment. It really is. It's a great signing. I'm very enthused by it on a number of levels. And, we did feel a nice increase in quality in the last transfer window. And, we've did report cards now on the channel for Ida, for Engels, and for Trusty in the report card series. We've also did the B team. We've also did the transfer department. And we've also did Daisen Maeda Player of the Year. Daisen Maeda Player of the Year report card, but is the one with the least views. I guess people don't really care about just listening to how great Daisen was this season. We all want to talk about the divisive figures. I'm not too sure who will be next up for report card series treatment, as it were. But whatever you think of them, Engels, Ida, and Trusty are like caliber above the sort of transfer business we've been doing historically over the last, let's say, 7 or 8 years. And I think Nygren keeps up that level of quality that's coming into the squad. And ideally now, like, if Engels is the third wheel, as it were, fourth wheel, but third wheel, whatever is the expression, and we've got McKeown and Bernardo supplementary, like this is a bit attacking if we're going to have Rio and Nygren. I don't know how often we would get away with playing that. Rio does like to defend and does go both sides, don't get me wrong, but Rio is very happy to get up in here and get in amongst it. Rio, has he maybe been missing his partner in crime, Matt O'Reilly? And do you know what? This might actually be the future if we do keep Hatate, because the rumour mill is very quiet on him, and I'm very excited to hopefully keep Hatate again this year. He had a quote with Japanese media over the last week or two saying, like, when your career's done, the only thing people care about is your medals. And that tells you he wants to win more medals, But when it was him and O'Reilly, the partnership of them two is an undervalued element of what made that team great. There's a lot of focus on O'Reilly because he's now gone and he was the big money guy, but O'Reilly was a piece of the machine, And Hatate didn't really have that partner in crime this year. Engels and Hatate didn't really vibe that way. We actually seen some, and we spoke about this on the channel when it happened, but we've seen some great performances when we had Hatate and McKeown together. And actually, whenever we had Engels on this side, And maybe that's something that could happen if Hatate was to leave, but we had Engels on this side. Him and McKibben worked very well together. That could be Engels and Nygren if again Hatate was to go here. So I think this might push the midfield into a more attacking kind of mode. We're not expecting to lose Engels. I know there was a link or whatever, but it's probably unlikely to happen, isn't it? But if we are to slide him into midfield, and we expect Rio to still do the donkey work up and down, Nygren's saying he connects defence to attack. So if he's up for doing a bit of that on his side as well, like, yeah, we could really get back to that old school. I say old school, but that throwback to O'Reilly and Hatate, like calling the shots, pulling the strings and making things happen. Yeah, and then that I think that's probably closer to conventional expectations of you get Engels and McGregor to sit and hold hands, and you give Nygren freedom or Hatate if he's still in the building, the freedom to roam around, play make, connect back to front, that sort of thing. Hatate is just, for me, one of the first names on the team sheet for Brendan, and if he's still in the team, that won't change. And then ask some really big questions on the rest of the midfield. And I'm seeing people saying that they reckon another big money transfer in midfield could be coming. And if Nygren is to be primarily a central base player, I struggle to imagine we're going to get another centre defensive midfielder. There was a guy, who is it he plays for again? The guy in Switzerland who looks to be a defensive midfielder. He's not going to be costing a lot of money and would probably be happy to do the old Tomoki Iwata shift. So I could see another midfielder like that coming in. But I think if Nygren is thought to be a central base player, I'm not too sure, because if you do bring another one in, it's just more competition. We do need that defensive midfielder. And I think if we are going to switch this to be like Nygren and Rio, it's really going to highlight like what we don't have back here between McGregor and Engels. I don't think either one of them is the answer. Bernardo maybe just about comes into the conversation with that as well. But then again, if you are going to do these two guys, you're not going to sign someone to replace McGregor, even though you probably should stylistically in this type of shape, but it's not going to happen. So there we go. Baraji. Let's go and put him up on screen because he profiles very well. Baraji. There we go, Musa. So let's go and pop him on screen. He does look the part. I don't really know much about him. The other player that we were linked to in Switzerland, Alvin Sanchez, by the way, see, after we were linked to him, his profile at the time didn't look that great. He only had like some fleeting appearances. He kicked on in a big way. We might be priced out of him. I think he might be going to Leeds United. So whoever is identifying people in Switzerland, I'm all right to give them a bit of license on this. The stats look really good on him. His ability, all the rest of it. Not at a great team, so very defensively focused. His good games, his better performances, his better ratings out of 100 have mainly came when he's got a goal or an assist or goal line clearance or something, penalty one. There's not a lot of games where he's really been there's 2 games here where he's been a real defensive force. He's had 6 tackles, 1, a double-double, which means he's been good at winning his duels and interceptions and stuff. Yes, 12 duels, 1. Wow, that's very good. Passing stats, only 19 passes. So this isn't a guy that's getting on the ball doing very much. He's a destroyer. He's breaking stuff up. He's preventing the opposition from progressing. This game against Servette, 2 tackles, 1, duels, 1, 9, 2 interceptions. Very well-rounded passing. Again, accurate passes, 20. So yeah, very low pass count. Not a guy that's on the ball too often. That can be a bit of a worry because, like, if we get guys that can't be on the ball under pressure, that's not good, So happy to give them the benefit of the doubt after the success that the boy Alvin Sanchez. I'll just show you this guy. You'll maybe remember, if you've been on the channel for a while as well, we were linked to him, like, kind of back here, I think. Like, he'd had a little bit of success. He'd had some moments of glimpses of glory or whatever. We can see the dates on this. Yeah, so it may have been like the summer window in 23 where we're linked to him. So it might have been just before these games here. So we're looking at September. So yeah, it'd have been like around this time, I think. And then he didn't do nothing, and then came back last season. And boom. Or might have even been back here where we're linked to him, actually. Yeah, it might have been like July 24, that kind of summer. So he had a little bit, and it was like, okay, there's something here, but there's not much. Because prior to that, like, yeah, it hadn't been all that great. But last season, like, they're off the charts. He's probably going to go somewhere for some decent money now. Well, I don't know. Go for Kings Kangwa. I think we've mentioned Kings Kangwa on this channel a wee bit too often. It's not going to happen. But he's he's a player we would sign under Neil Lennon, Kings Kangwa, or Gordon Strachan, or Ronnie Dyler. He's not a Brendan Rodgers or an Ange signing. That's a good way of kind of categorizing it. I'm not too sure. And this guy is this guy's getting a lot of traction as well. You guys, I've seen a bunch of you guys mentioning this guy to me. Let's go and have a peek at him. I don't think we get anything for Opta coverage, which is what all this is based on, is Opta. Yeah, we don't get the Serbian stuff unless they're really an international or whatever. Yeah, I think Alvin Sanchez is more like Nygren. I think he's more of an attacking base player. I don't think he does that box to box stuff, as much. Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, so whoever found Alvin Sanchez, if they've found Baradji here, I'm happy to give Celtic the benefit of the doubt. Sign this guy for 2 million, stick him on the bench. That's fine. I've also seen and heard, if we're thinking about this type of profile, that Moutinho, who was briefly linked to Rangers, apparently he is actually available. He came through for Basel in the second half of their season, helped them to win the league, and earned plaudits and was likened to Paul Pogba. This is a Brazilian wonder kid that was signed by Man City and has been loaned out and around Europe for the last year or so. And again, if he's available for under 4 million quid, wouldn't mind a bit of somebody like Moutinho coming in. We signed an Argentinian defender, didn't quite work out. We've maybe go back to the well. I say he's Brazilian, but he looks like he's actually been nationalised here for the Dominican Republic of Congo or whatever it is. Oh, really? That's a bit. Matthew Anderson's getting sold. Why? Yeah, we don't get any Bundesliga 2 stats, sadly, but why? Why are we selling him? I thought the whole point in loaning him out and developing him was to try and, why don't we loan him into Dundee United or Kilmarnock or something this year? St Johnstone or whatever. I don't know. That's a frustrating one. I don't get why we're selling him. Belgian second tier, is it Lomel? Because Lomel, I think that's how you spell it. Or is it 2 M's? Lomel, I think he plays for them or played for them. So find me a wee backdoor maybe. History. Yeah, there we go, Lomel. This is the Man City team in Belgium as well. They've not did as good as USG. They don't get promoted. They just own players. And Lee Johnson is their manager, former Hibs boss, I think, isn't it? So, yeah. Nah, not them. Fair enough. Or Kortrijk. Oh, wow, I didn't know. Kortrijk are a top flight team that have been relegated. So fair enough. That's just a weird one, isn't it? I don't get that at all. Because left back, we know Tierney is on the building, of course, which is like first choice left back is sorted. There was rumours that Greg Taylor might be on the U-turn, but that's now U-turn to U-turn, and he is going to go to Pau, P-A-O-K, Pau to me and you. And, we spoke about this at the time, but Pau, along with the other big three in Greece, Pau especially, Pau have got like a mad rich owner. They get paid very well at Pau. They've got quite a few stars in their team. And the Greek football is just not well covered. Like, it's not well regarded, to be honest with you, across Europe. It's got some, like, can we look at this on YouTube? We probably can, right? But we hate the referees in our country, right? I don't know if you've ever looked at this. I've not looked at it in a while, so I'm not even really too sure what to search for. But Olympiacos get... Oh, no, this is basketball stuff. Olympiacos cheat. Here's one from HIT. You can watch this, maybe. That'll maybe give you a wee bit more. But there's proper clips in here of, like, Olympiacos getting... You think Rangers stuff has been wild, by the way. point being, you also seen the guy with Nottingham Forest and all that. Like Greek football is, I don't want to cast any asparage, but there's enough reason for people to not take it too seriously as a competition, as it were, and question the validity of some of the performances over the years, to keep it politically correct, let's say. Inamura stuff went quiet, so I don't know will he be back up left back. Frame probably not ready. Liam Maguire. I think so. The Japanese mid-season break is coming up shortly, and I wouldn't be surprised if the moves did just happen. I think the price tag around Inamura is right in Celtic's wheelhouse. Like, I think there's a really strong body of evidence now to suggest that. What did we sign Bernardo for? Was it 4 million? I think, see if there's a signing under the £5 million mark. I think Rodgers, Tisdale, whoever can kind of do what they want. But I think any transfer that's over 5 million quid, there's got to be like the committee, there's got to be scrutiny, there's got to be the pit, make your case, Brendan, for why we spend 13 million on Engels situation. In Amura, right down at that 300k mark, Nygren under 2 million. We're able to get these. Let's see what happens with Namura or Shin Yamada or whoever. But just look at Nygren, how swift that was done at 1.7 million. Remember Odenholm when we signed him? Very swift, very nominal fee. So I can see the Namura one maybe just happening because, yeah, if Matthew Anderson isn't getting brought back into the equation, it's really hard to imagine Montgomery is going to be in the equation. And Mitchell Frame, who knows, but we've got big needs to fill this problem position. Lagerbielke is subject to transfer interest from Braga. Now, I think this would be a great move. And again, if they just want to pay 2 million quid and sign him, let's get 35-40% on the back end for that. And if they can move him on to Porto, Benfica, move him up the food chain in their domestic league, which does happen quite often, or give him a platform to, again, Braga sell to La Liga quite regularly as well. So it's a good landing spot for him. And it's not beyond the realm of imagination that Braga could buy him for 2, sell him for 5, or whatever. We can maybe try our best to wash our face on that deal. I don't mind that. So if the Rocky stuff has been a bit quiet, we still haven't heard anything on Welsh, but there is still a lot of heavy lifting to be done in defence. And with Taylor not U-turning, which felt like it might happen, but he's officially gone, that's wages off the books, which Tierney probably negates anyway. Laggers, if he's to go, that's decent wages off the books, you must imagine. Who knows what happens when the Rocky? Does he keep Welsh in the building for the homegrown? It's hard to imagine that, isn't it? But the defence very quickly, like if you take away the yellow dots, yeah, it's great we've got Tierney back in the building, but this defence by itself, without those yellow dots, for even just cover. I know we don't think of those guys as like, oh, they make the team better, or they make me feel happier about the squad. Far from it, I get that. But when you remove them back and you just see, this is all we have, like, imagine Trusty or Scales gets injured and Tierney needs a rest, or, it just feels like we're about to be playing with fire. I think Colin said on Axom today he reckons Celtic will break their transfer record again this summer, and I totally go along with that. I reckon it's defence. I think Colin said that as well, actually. I think he might have said midfield. That was my first thought, but as I'm saying this out loud, he might have actually said defence also. But that was part of the report card video that we spoke about, was Trusty at 6, Naroki at 4, Laggers at 3.5. None of them have been better than Scales. If you want a guy better than Scales, we've been saying on the channel for about 3 years, 2 years or whatever, you need to spend 10, 12, 15 million euros to get a guy that is going to keep Scales out the team, undoubtedly. And Trusty for 6, Naroki for 4, Laggers for 3. None of them are clearly better. There's discussions to be had, obviously. But yeah, we'd have been better just listening to me in the first place and signing Mika Marmol, or spending it all on one big power player. Maybe Scales is KT's number 2. I could see a world where that is the case. Scales is just like ultimate defence cover. But we've seen him at left back for Celtic. It's not great. He's just like a wide centre back, which again isn't really much of a problem because we can crunch that into a back 3, let AJ really off the leash here. I don't mind, or Ralston, depending on what the game is or whatever. But yeah, the left back even the kind of the second string defense situation is still very much a work in progress and long overdue. Like, you guys can scroll back squad depth videos on the channel, and we've been chatting about this problem for 3 or 4 years, probably at this stage. Mika Marmal still my top pick. But at this point, we've got Trusty, we've got Scales. If we get Inamura on the back of this as well, there's just so many left foots. You know what I mean? That it kind of goes against we don't have any left-footed guys in the team anymore, kind of thing. So yeah, we've had the departure confirmation of Taylor. We've had a little bit of movement, maybe with Laggers, Naroki last week. Maybe some of the fringe defence maybe starts to move. Midfield has been all quiet on the Western Front, with exception of the Baraji guy that we just put on screen a minute ago. I don't really see much else happening outside of that at the moment. And the front line, there was some rumours in chat that Yang might go. There's been nothing around Palma. Tilio is apparently getting our look in the squad. And I'll kind of say it in case she's missed that video, but I wouldn't be wildly surprised if we tried to turn Tilio into a wee Hitate type attacking midfielder, because out in the wide areas, he's just getting kind of bullied. Centrally, I don't know if he'll do much better in Scotland, but having more players to pass with and to connect with might do him better than being isolated out here 1v1 or 1v2. It just, I don't know. It's hard to say because he didn't really play too much for us, but and at Celtic fan, I know you've been going nuts about this Gabriel guy at Copenhagen. Let's put him on screen. So I don't think we've actually previewed him for a while. No, I think we've put him on once before. I'm just going to put in Jordan Larson because I know he's at Copenhagen. And then let's look at their players. Gabriel Perea, 25-year-old defender. And yeah, he's doing pretty damn well in Denmark. We need to do an eye test on this guy. Ooh, that was a bad game. 2 error-led to goals against Istanbul Başakşehir. Need to see what those error-led to goals look like, by the way, because that's a huge game in Europe for them. Oh, we've got one here as well. A domestic match. Vilge, I think they're bottom of the table, maybe get relegated. Who cares about that? A red card. Oh, that was in Portugal. So, formerly in Portugal. He's only been at Copenhagen for a minute. He might be freshly contracted. Those moves can be hard to get done. Sometimes we jump into history. Yeah, Gio Vicente and whatnot. So, interesting player. I hear you guys talking about him all the time. Bershiche from... Yeah, he could do all right. He could do all right. But one of the other things I wanted to chat about, so I'm happy to pick up anything else you want to throw at me, by the way, you guys in the live chat. But the squad, it feels like, I think Nygren Inamura, if that happens, I think these are the moves we're making for the Champions League qualifier. And I think there will be a distinct line in the sand for transfers pre-Champions League qualifier and transfers post-Champions League qualifier. I don't actually expect anything beyond what we've heard already. We expect Osman to be signed on. Kenny's bid has been rejected. I think Brendan, this might be the plan Brendan has. Ida starts, and then we've got these two guys, young bloods, like trying to take the old man out, kind of. Irish Wonder Kid, yeah, I seen that. I think it was just a tip, wasn't it? I don't think it's an actual link. What was it? Irish Yamal, they get called, was it? Or something? I don't think there's anything concrete in that. What was I going to say? Yeah, so I think for the Champions League qualifier, Nygren is going to be the main artillery, the main new blood that comes into the squad, alongside Tierney, of course. But I don't think we're making any more sizable moves, any meaningful transfers until after the qualifier now. And that's when we could see, like, I wouldn't be surprised if Scales or Trusty was sold. In the grand scheme of things, you know. Yeah, Big Rab, it's been there for years, hasn't it? Really. Since Bruni left. We've not had somebody. We've obviously like molded McGregor into being the actual like on-pitch replacement for Bruni. But like I've mentioned before, for me, McGregor and Bruni are like two sides of the same coin. Like amazing controllers, amazing captains, but Scott Brown had that energy, had that dig, had that nose for danger, you know, and would snuffle things out, control the tempo of the match. McGregor does all of that as well, but it's without that nose for danger. It's more with that eye for a pass or that kind of in-game IQ to kind of... So they do a very similar job, but in different ways. And it's that nose for danger that we're missing. We don't have anyone that can just smell a problem, that can just spot a gap that's about to get us and, you know, be in the right place. Take somebody out, you know, just be in the right place and do something good, like win the ball and move it on. Yeah, Oriaster, the boy that was walking about Norway with his passport in Norway, might be going to PSV now to replace Perisic or Bakayoko or one of the big players that they're selling. So yeah, that'll be a sore one if we miss out on that. So yeah, one of the other things I did want to talk on here was the whole Shaun Maloney thing as well. I kind of, again, I mentioned this on Axom earlier, but it's a big appointment. I personally like club legends being involved in the club. Can we put something on screen here to make it a bit more interesting than just me sitting here? I wonder if we go onto the Celtic website, is there a Maloney? Yeah, there is a Maloney press release here. So let's pop that on screen, because I grew up with Shaun Maloney being one of the best players. I grew up in high school. Every girl in my high school fancied Shaun Maloney. If you're my age, you'll know what I'm talking about. He was just that. He was just that guy, that wee guy who played for Celtic, that scored worldies, and all the birds fancied him and whatever. And he could take free kicks. He played the Celtic way. He was a winger, but he wasn't a winger. He was a forward, but he wasn't a forward. And had some magic in his boots. Big fan of the guy. No harm to him at all. I've actually been quite uh, optimistic about his coaching career. I'm always very happy to cheer him on or whatever. But this really took me by surprise, to be honest with you, because the pathway manager thing is a hugely important role, and it ties in with the head of football ops, the men's first team manager, Chris McCart, our head of academy, and the club's B team and academy coaches. Shaun himself came through the ranks. He's also played at Villa and Wigan, won the FA Cup with Wigan as well, of course. It's a huge honour. My aim is to work really closely between our academy and the first team and create the best opportunities for success, which will ultimately be represented by more and more players reaching the first team environment. And we heard from Paul Tisdale in his announcement, his presentation he did for the Celtic Fan Forum, that we want to produce Champions League level players. And Shaun Maloney should know what that looks and feels like, you would say, for the most part. I've been fortunate enough to follow the same pathway, and I am now excited about ensuring. Yes, that's quite good. I don't mind that. Shaun will be tasked with developing the internal and external processes necessary to ensure we optimize the talents of our young players. And I was saying, for me, my primary concern is if Shaun Maloney isn't doing this job in 3 years from now, it's been a bad appointment. Whoever does this job, although you want them to be a club figurehead, ideally a bit of an icon, a bit of a cult hero, a guy that gets the fabric of the club, a guy that adds fabric into the club. If this job has to be a long-standing position, whoever does this, because, and again, I hate saying a broken record, but I mentioned this earlier today, but John Clark, Danny McGrain, Tommy Burnt, there's so many club legends that have played intangible and valuable roles in the development of Celtic youth players coming through over the last 25 years. How few of them there has been some of them. And we lose some amount of players to Bayern Munich and to Aston Villa and to Middlesbrough and whatever when they're 17, 16, and we all quite don't really know much about it. And it feels like, oh, how did that happen? And they've kind of been taken from under our nose. And we don't really, it doesn't feel from the outside looking in that we have our hooks in players where they know that you're a Celtic player. We have a plan for you. We believe in you. And if we follow this pathway through, you could end up, if you don't end up in our first team, you'll end up in someone's first team. And that's ultimately the goal at the end of the day, isn't it? And this is a job that someone should be doing for a number of years, because you're hopefully going to be looking after kids when they're 12, 13, 14, 15. And then when it gets to that sharp end, 16, 17, 18, you've got a relationship with them. You've got buy-in with them. They know you've been looking after them. You've helped progress their career to this point. And if they do get that approach from down south for the continent, we should be better armed to keep our prized possessions with someone like this in mind. I don't want to call him a Tommy Burns replacement, but it's that kind of thing where you can tell we don't have that fabric. We don't have that continuity in the back office. One of the rumours that did come out alongside this was that Aidan McGeady, who, by the way, wasn't fancied by that many birds when I went to school, also interviewed for the role. And, hate him or love him, I was always a big fan of McGeady. He made us a lot of money at the time. But Aidan McGeady wants to work in the back office. Aidan McGeady has been director of football, head of football operations, whatever, at Ayr United for, I'm going to guess, 2 years, if not a year and a half. And although it's a totally different ballpark, Ayr United to Celtic, That's clearly where his career ambitions lie. My main worry is Shaun Maloney is the next Kilmarnock manager in 3 months from now, or the next Dundee United manager in 12 months, or whatever. And in which case we are back to square one looking for another pathway manager. So that's my only concern. As long as he doesn't leave us high and dry, or as long as he doesn't get internally fucking promoted or moved into the. I've heard this rumor as well. A lot of you guys are saying that our next manager will be Roberto Martinez and he'll be his assistant, and this is like a foreshadowing for that. I don't buy that personally. But if something like that did happen again, I'd be annoyed because this person, this pathway manager, is a very valuable position. In other clubs, they call it a loan manager or football development officer, these types of things. So yeah, I'm happy. Hopefully it works out, but I'm cautiously nervous. It's not really the correct appointment because he becomes a manager of some other Scottish team in 6 months from now. But otherwise, I think he'll do a great job. I think he's a great role model. And this is a big job for connections and understanding football. So, like, if we've got Matthew Anderson, Daniel Cummings, Ben Doak, Rocco Vata, take your pick of youth players, and you're thinking, right, we want to get them first team ready. You need to really know what type of footballer they are. And the job, if you're doing it well, you only need to look at Brighton, Brentford, Bournemouth, all the bees, these types of teams in England that really put a lot of value and put a lot of resources against this type of person. They need to know, right, Rocco Vata, we are putting you on loan at St Mirren because Stephen Robinson plays a 3-5-2. And if you play in his 3-5-2, you'll get a lot of time on the ball. You'll play often enough because he needs a guy that plays in your position. You'll fit the system well. There's another striker there that you can play off of. It should complement your game well. It's a win-win for everyone rather than, I don't know, like Johnny Kenny going back to Ireland. I know he did good in the Conference League, which is kind of get out of jail for that pretty badly operated situation. But really, Johnny Kenny, like, look at why does Johnny Kenny not go? Why do we not get Johnny Kenny into Kortrijk or into one of these other teams, RDWM, Racing, Dashing, White, RDWM, or whoever, Cercle Bruges? Why don't we get him into Belgium and try and get him developed while we still own him? And rather than Feyenoord looking to buy O for 9 million, Feyenoord look to buy O for 9 million off of us, kind of thing. So this is about networking. This is about connections as well. And it's about knowing football, like what managers you're going to be giving the player to. What are they like stylistically? What are the player like? What qualities do they have? What are their actual strengths? What could be a bit too much for them? Is going abroad a bit too early for this guy? Should he go to Queen's Park? Should he go to Admira Wacker? Should he go to Portugal, Croatia, or Belgium? That kind of thing, So it's good that the club are putting more resources into this because with O'Day previously being the first ever pathway manager, I think we all knew that was a bit of square peg in the round hole, just to give him a place in the club without sacking him. But with the new training field that's getting developed and all the other stuff that Celtic are doing behind the scenes, I think we will look back at some point in time and we'll go, wow, those foundations there have now meant we've got like fucking... We're producing 10, 15, 20 million pound players out of our academy. They're playing for us. They're doing great for us in the Champions League. And then when we're kicking them on and selling them, we're making even more. And then the transfer business that we've been doing recently that we're getting excited about, spending 10, 13 million pound on the reg, becomes even more regular. And maybe we can adjust our sights a bit higher and get a bit better talent as it comes in. Like Noah Lang. Now, Noah Lang comes with baggage. Noah Lang is a bit of a bad boy. Or it can be a bit of a pain in the ass, to be honest with you, which is why he's not went to the top level yet. 100% has the talent. 100% would do great. But if you guys think Nicolas Kühn is money, Noah Lang is not the player for you. That was Balikwisha. Yeah, I think if it's 12, 15 million, I think we take that, Ryan, as well for Kühn, to be honest with you. But yeah, I'm quite happy with the Maloney move. I like the operations, the football operation development that we're doing. I just worry that it's half-assed and let's give it to Shaun. Let's get Shaun back in here. Shaun's a good guy. And then he goes on to manage someone else. And then we end up hiring somebody like McGeady anyway, who's actually a back office guy or someone that actually wants to do that job forever or for as long as imaginable. And I'm just trying to think what the other... I think I had another kind of half talking point I wanted to chew over with you. I do have a live to do over at my channel, Quinny 3001, at 6:30. It's a fantasy football based thing tonight. But I think for all things Celtic, yeah, Kühn, I was going to mention as well, but we've kind of mentioned Kühn in passing. Slightly off topic, the signings we've been linked to so far are really cheap. Yeah, and that's what we mentioned earlier, Celtic fan, is I think there's enough, there's enough out there to suggest. I think there is like a soft threshold in Celtic Park where Brendan's been told, listen, see MD Brendan under 5 million, fill your boots to a max. Like, so I think like the now, pre-Champions League qualifier, they said, Brendan, you've got 10 million quid. Don't spend more than 5 on one player. Do what you want. You don't need to ask us for permission. And he's went, cool. Osmond, Nygren, and Amura. That rounds up to like 3 million. So maybe his budget is 5. I don't know. But I think he's been given, maybe it's this summer, maybe it's wider. So I think if you look in the wider windows, like Bernardo's and some other guys, deals that have moved fast, they've all been under £5 million. And I think deals under £5 million. And again, maybe that's something that Don Mackay and Ange kind of softly exploited at Celtic, because they got deals done rapid and we were like, oh, this is different. This might be us growing up a bit here. And then it's kind of went back to type a little bit and now it's kind of moving forward a little bit again. But I think there's definitely enough historical data there to suggest that Celtic have probably got some sort of internal mechanism of, if the player costs under this, don't need to speak to Nicholson, don't need to speak to Desmond, don't need to speak to Lowell. If Brendan likes him, he's 3 million quid, do it. If Brendan likes him, he's £1 million, do it. If Brendan likes him and he's 4.9, do it. If Brendan likes him and he's 5.1, you better phone us. Kind of thing. It could be. I'm not too optimistic about this main stand thing. It's something that's getting spoken about more and more. I just don't think the board have got a long enough lens to think about the upside of doing this. I think they're only going to see the downside. I think they're so risk averse that they kind of look at, imagine COVID happened for the next 5 years. Would we survive? Like, that's the way I think they think. Imagine we couldn't sell a player. Imagine we couldn't sell a ticket. Could we survive for the next 5? That's how conservative with a small c, to quote Tino. That's the way I think that they think, Maybe it is big picture. Maybe they are really going big picture with Battlefield, Lennoxtown, and then finally the main stand and the footprint of the stadium, perhaps. But I'm not sure the board have got that long a lens to look at the upside on that kind of thing. Personally, I think 3 to 5 is as long as they look ahead into the future, which probably isn't bad crack, to be honest with you, because I know we've just had the reformat of the Champions League for the better. But, like, what's to say that it doesn't change again and it gets a bit harder or some, so as much as we are likely to dominate and all the rest of it, what makes a difference for Celtic making mega money and bang average crap money is Champions League and is selling players. And if, you imagine a world where we don't have a gem come through that we can sell for however much, and you imagine some weird situation where Champions League is not as good, not as easy to access, we don't get to it, then yeah, I think you quickly see they squirm in their chair and like, no, let's not spend that money. Let's just keep it. Is there an argument that you want that liquidity to sell the club? There's a big argument for that, because if the club is cash rich, then when you sell it, you get fucking paid. Like, you're not just selling the club. Then at that point, you're selling the club plus a bank balance. So there is like, when you make a company cash rich, it can be a very strong indicator that you're looking to sell. It just makes it an even better value proposition for anyone coming in, and it makes your exit even sweeter, because you've got a bank balance to sell. I'm kind of lost a wee bit of the chat here, the liquidation chat or whatever. Liquidity. It's just, yeah, I think it just makes the business more valuable. There's definitely an argument to be said that could be what's happening. But I think if Desmond was money motivated, I think we would have seen more proof in the pudding on that he's like money motivated around all this. And I know people say, all he does is take money out of the club or whatever. Maybe he does. I'm not super privy on dividend payouts and that kind of stuff, right? But sincerely, from where I'm sitting, Yes, they could do more to push Celtic forward, but ultimately it is kind of hard to argue with the body of work that Desmond and Lobwell have done over 10 to 15 years. For me, I find it hard to really be upset with them. Yeah, there's opportunities missed. Yeah, there's positions of strength that we didn't capitalise upon. Yeah, we've mismanaged transfer fees in the past. And yeah, I've not seen it yet. The Axom guys told me about it this morning. I've still not watched it yet. I've been run off my feet. And I'm going to need to go shortly, guys, on to my next one. Where we'll be chatting fantasy football and all that good stuff. But I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to get up to speed with what's happened this week at Celtic. If I just check even the promo tweet from earlier, because I think that was quite a nice wee good summary for what we had lined up in the show today. Ben Nygren obviously being the main one. Sorry, that's another tweet there. Yeah, Kühn attracting interest, pre-season plans taking shape, Nygren deal close and Maloney back at Paradise. Except for pre-season plans, which is maybe some of this stuff we're chatting about. We've not really got into much of that, but I don't think there's too much to really go over at this point. Got you. I'm with you now. And yeah, I know that's not great. I'm not on board with that either, Martin Weir. But like, see, the one thing that I always said, and it was before I made content or anything like that, so any of my close friends will be able to attest to this, right? But see, when it was the just enough to win the league crap, when it was Dyla and Rangers weren't in the league, I could kind of get that. As long as my thing was, number one, you have to get 10 in a row if you do that. And number two, when they do come back, that muscle has to be felt. And I do feel that the muscle we've got over them has been felt season on season, really. Whether it was appointing Brendan the first time and signing Scott Sinclair and going and get Edward and Dembele and all these other amazing guys that we had in that time, to then, obviously with Lennon and then coming into Ange, kind of broke up a wee bit. That was a wee bit maybe more squad personalities and promises and dynamics and whatever that maybe took the wheels off the machine at that point. But then it's Ange, and then it's like, okay, what do you want? Let's just go and spend 10 million quid on Japan and do all this stuff. And, when this then pans out, new Champions League format, I can look back at that time and think, okay, well, they seem to have a plan, because Lowell and all these guys are involved in all this European club committee boards and executive committees that are involved in reshaping the Champions League and all the rest of it. So if they're taking a longer view on European football, I don't mind those sins of the. And I said this it was one of my first appearances on Axon, but I call it the Ronnie Dyla tax. All the suffering. We paid our penance through Ronnie Dyla, as Celtic fans, not spending money and not really. I think Ronnie Dyla was. Did Ronnie Dyla have one Champions League group stage campaign? I'm not sure he did, by the way. I think Ronnie Dyla was Mr. Europa League for us. So, yeah. I think that chat's evolved a wee bit on Axom, for the, also you go all the way back to the 90s and stuff like that. Like, Celtic has earned this position in football. We've not just had a rich benefactor come in and just fill our pockets. It's been generational, looking after the club. Graham Martin, loving to see him back. That Molde game was tough to. The Molde game and the Molde game was the Europa League group stage, wasn't it? Molde actually won that group, if you remember. Solskjaer's Molde, if memory serves me right. And we that group. It was Molde, Fenerbahce, and I want to say Ajax. Van Persie and Nani were both at Fenerbahce at the time. Every one of those games, we were winning, and we drew 4 or 5 of them. And we ended up bottom of the table or something. But every match we were leading and didn't get it over the line. Berget, yeah, who could forget that? The new third kit, won't be buying it. I'll be buying the shorts, but big fan of the shorts. Thanks very much, William. I'm glad you think so, mate. Yeah, Big Rab, I love it, mate. I love it because I discounted Ben Nygren back in November, December because they had links to Bournemouth and Brentford for 10 to 15 mil. So I make you quite right there. Nygren under contract is 10x the price, 10. You know, so huge value, huge asset to add to the balance sheet for the Hoops. Yeah, Efe, don't forget that. Yeah, 2-0 up against Fenerbahce. I see you, Martin. I see you coming at me with those slide digs. I see it. Awesome, possum. Right, guys, I think I've kind of ran out of steam. I'm happy to keep this going, but I'm kind of just chatting with you guys in the chat, which is all good fun, but I like to try and keep the topic on balance for anyone that's watching this after we've been live, so that it's a bit of a show or whatever. So thanks to everyone that has tuned in. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already. Next week, this week we missed a Monday upload, which will hopefully get sorted for next week. My editor's away on holiday. I think maybe, I forget when he's back, but anyway, between 5 and 6, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Thursday. We don't have anything ever penciled in for Tuesday, but every other day of the week between 5 and 6, we do our best to go live or have a video ready for you as well. So be sure to hit the subscribe button, turn notifications on. I hope you enjoyed hanging out with me this Friday afternoon. I hope you have a great weekend, everyone. Hail, hail. Welcome to Celtic, Ben Nygren, and Moan the Hoops.